All right, first fly we're going to tie tonight is called the chocolate cherry. There's about 3 or 4 other versions of this called about the same thing. Cherry chocolate, you name it, it's there. But I came up with this one because it's a little bit different than the rest of them. First thing you're going to start off with is the hook, and the hook I've got on right here is 1120 Daiichi hook. It's the same thing as the old 2457 hook. It's a scud hook. I'm using, this is a size 14. I figured this is a little bigger so you can see how it's tied. This fly should be tied in about a 16 or an 18. And it can be tied in a 20, but the other two work very much the same. I put a red bead on it. It's called a blood red bead. It's a very dark red. And we're going to start tying, and we're going to use, the first thing we're going to use is I've got some Vivas brown thread here. You can use unithread, camel thread. You can use about anything you want to use as far as it's kind of a medium brown. First thing I'm going to do is kind of put a little knot behind the bead to keep it from sliding around. Then I'm going to come right on down the shank with it. A little bit there, and then I'm going to cut off my tag. Now I'm going to come right on down the back side here, and I'm going to go over the bend of the hook, and I'm going to come about, at least a third of the way down that bend. Going to drop it right about that, and that's about where the barb would be on this particular hook. Next thing we're going to do is to tie in some red small wire. It's going to be used for its ribbing. I'm going to run that all the way back up to the, right up behind the eye. And I'm going to bring it all the way back down. Okay. Now we're going to tie in a little bit of a tail. I'm going to use some crystal flash. I prefer the opal. If you've got some other type of real flashy type crystal flash you'd like to use, you can. Pearl works good, but I think the opal is a little more, it's a little more flashy and everything. I'm going to use about 6 pieces. I'm going to tie them up underneath here. I'm going to trap it real good here. I'm going to work it all the way back up the front, right behind the eye. And I'm going to cut off here, about 1/4 of an inch is all I want for a tail, just like that. The rest of it's pretty simple. You build up the rest of the fly with an eye or with a thread. And I'm going to put a taper in it, so I'm going to kind of come down about 1/3 of the way on the hook, go back up behind the eye, come back down and go down to about half the length of the eye, or the hook, excuse me. I got an eye on my brain tonight for some reason. I'm going back up behind the bead again, then I'm going to go back down again. And I know something I forgot to tell you all. I am using a size 10 aught in the Vivas thread. Now that's basically the same thing as an 8/0 and the unit thread. I'm going to set in here and go right back in. If you notice, I'm building a nice taper in it. I've had somebody call this one time carrot. We're about there. Going to make one more job back down to the back here, about halfway down, maybe a little bit further. Tie it down a little bit tighter. And then right back up behind the bead. Okay. We're going to take and pull the wire underneath and up over the top, and we're going to form a rib. And we want to do this with equal spacing in the wraps. I'm going to end up with about 4, maybe 5 wraps. I don't like them any closer than that. About 4 is all I got. Going to wrap it off. And I'm going to cut the excess wire off. Now, we're going to take some, I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe I can get it up here. There's some Prism SLR dubbing, and this is hare's ear. We're going to take a little pinch of it, and I mean a pinch of it. And we're going to make a little tiny thorax. We're going to dub it in, and I mean, it don't take very much to make this thorax. Right up behind the bead. I just made 2 wraps, is about all I made out of that. I'm going to finish it off right up behind the bead. I want to make at least 3, if not 4 wraps. Let's see, I got a couple of, I don't want to trim too much of it off. I want to make it look buggy. And that, gentlemen, is what we call the chocolate cherry.